Hey everyone, it's Professor Clark. In this lecture, we are going to go over reflexive constructions. So these are constructions where you are talking about yourself or in some way referring back to the subject of the sentence, or where there is some kind of mutual interaction. These are quite straightforward in general in Russian, but there are some things that are a little different than English, so that can be a little tricky. Let's take a quick look at them. Let's start with the reflexive pronoun себя. And себя does not exist in the nominative form because it can only be the object of a verb, never the subject. And so we have себя for the accusative and genitive, себе for the dative and the prepositional, and собой for the instrumental. And again, it always refers back to the subject of the sentence or the subject of the verb, and it can never be the subject. So you must have a subject like ya or Tatiana Nikolaevna or something like that. And then себя refers back to that subject. So in English, we have myself, yourself, himself, herself, themselves, and so on and so forth. In Russian, there are not separate words for all of that. We just have себя, and we just know which one it is by the fact that we know it refers to the subject of the sentence. It declines just like тебя, and there's a chart on page 150, but it's quite straightforward to use that way. And then there are a couple of constructions with it that have their own meaning. So к себе means going into your own room or your own office or your own home. And you just know by context what it is. It's just where you would be expected to be. And у себя means in your own room or office or your own home. And again, you just have to know from context what that is. It's wherever you are normally located or wherever you would be expected to be. And then some verbs, as you know, are reflexive, and they have this ending ся or s, so s мягкий знак. And this ся or s is just a contraction of себя, but it is attached to the end of a reflexive verb, and so we don't need to add себя. We already have it in the verb, and it already is the direct object, so such verbs can only take the indirect object. So they have to take dative or genitive or instrumental. They cannot take accusative. And remember that с я is used after consonants and с мягкий знак is used after vowels. So let's look at the verb бояться, to fear or to be afraid of something, which takes the genitive, as you remember. And so we have я боюсь, vowel, so с, мягкий знак, ты боишься, она боится, мы боимся, вы боитесь, они боятся. And then in the past, он боялся, она боялась, оно боялось, они боялись. So you see that the ya form and the вы form is going to take с мягкий знак in the non-past, and all the others are going to take ся. And then the on form will take ся in the past, and the other forms will take с мягкий знак. And there is a list of very useful reflexive verbs on page 151 and 152 of your textbook. And then the thing that tends to trip up English speakers that is different than what we do in English is the use of the reflexive pronoun свой. And свой means one's own, and it refers back to the subject of the sentence but can never be the subject, like себя. And in English, we have my own, your own, her own, his own, their own, and so on. In Russian, there's no separate word for all of those. We just use свой, and we understand from context what it is. It declines exactly like мой and твой, so that's straightforward enough. And then it is optional to use it in the first and second person. So in the я, ты, мы, and вы forms, you can use either мой, твой, наш, ваш, or свой. It's completely up to you which one you use. So я люблю своего мужа is just the same as я люблю моего мужа. Ты любишь своего мужа is the same as ты любишь твоего мужа. Мы любим своих детей is the same as мы любим наших детей. Or вы любите своих детей is the same as вы любите ваших детей. In casual speech, people are probably more likely to use some form of свой, but the meaning is exactly the same in those sentences. Where things get tricky is when you have the third person. And in the third person, Russian makes a clear distinction between свой and его, ее, and их. And you must use either свой or его, ее, or их in different circumstances, depending on whether the possessive pronoun refers back to the subject of the sentence or not. In English, we have this ambiguity where if we say, John loves his wife, we don't know whose wife he loves. It could be his wife, it could be someone else's wife. In Russian, we make a very clear distinction between those two. And so if we're using свой, that, of course, is going to refer back to the subject of the sentence. If we use его, ее, or их, that is going to refer to someone other than the subject of the sentence. So let's do a little, romantic triangle to see how this works. So we could say, for instance, Andrei и Sergei – братья. Andrei and Sergei are brothers. Andrei любит свою жену. And so this means that Andrei loves his own wife. Andrei and Sergei are brothers, and Andrei loves his own, Andrei's, wife. But we could say Andrei и Sergei – братья. Andrei любит его жену. In this case, Andrei loves somebody else's wife, probably Sergei's. And so we have a jealous love triangle building there. And you must make that distinction in Russian. In English, you can say, Andrei and Sergei are brothers, and Andrei loves his wife. And we leave it ambiguous whether he loves his own wife or whether he loves Sergei's wife. But in Russian, you must say, Andrei любит свою жену if he loves his own wife, and Andrei любит его жену if he loves Sergei's wife. So Russian helps us avoid these kind of difficult love triangles and things like that. I hope you found that helpful and enjoy your Russian.